Good morning. Welcome to Let's Talk of the Second Chance. My name is Philip Jones.
My name is Tafaro Cook, two-time kidney transplant recipient and founder of Kidney Care Coaches, where we coach people with stage 3 to stage 5 kidney disease. If you or you know someone who has kidney disease and they have some challenges, hit us up at kidneycarecoaches.com.
So today we're going to talk about something that needs to be discussed within the organ donation family, and so it's something that hinders us from having more than the amount of organ donors that we have. So we thought it'd be something that we need to talk about today, which is the myths about organ donation. These are reasons people don't want to become organ donors, whether it's deceased or living. And we feel we need to discuss it as patients. We need to that have been through the process of organ donation, of receiving an organ. We need to have you informed on exactly what's going on in these, because in reality, we need more organ donors. It's just the realness to it. We need more organ donors. So, um, the first myth is, if I'm in an accident and the hospital knows that I'm designated as a donor, the doctors and staff won't try to save my life. Yeah, that's not a nowhere near true. I mean, I can understand you watched maybe a little bit too much TV, because that's where that comes from. But that's not true. Doctors are, and you know what? I don't make it seem like in the reality of things there are no such thing as uh crooked cop. I mean, not crooked doctors. There are. I mean, just in the reality of things, there are, but uh there are just some that's just like, okay, I just want this person to die just so we can get somebody an organ. I don't think any doctor is that. They may be crooked in different ways, but I just don't think that they just gonna volunteer, just like, okay, this person needs to go ahead and die, so somebody can get a kidney or a different type of organ. So in my opinion, I don't think that for sure that it's not that's something that's true. What do you think, Mr. Cook?
First of all, Phil, you and I have been doing, working for, being advocates, moving the needle in this direction when it comes to transplants. Basically, since I was 18, since you was 4. So practically all our lives, and we've heard these myths. We've talked about them with people off camera, where people say, "I'm never going to be an organ donor." I've had people adamantly like, I'm not gonna be an organ donor because of X, Y, Z. And I'm sitting there like, you don't know, those thoughts aren't serving you. So, and I want to apologize for coming here and just giggling and laughing, because a lot of people don't know what we know, and we take it for granted because we do know these things. And I want you to know how serious it is that we do have a challenge right now with people signing up to be organ donors. And so I don't want to take this as a joke, but there's a lot of people out here that just don't know. And so what they say, like you say, they might have heard something on TV, they might have heard gossip and anything, and so they have their thoughts already programmed that they're not going to be organ donors because of X, Y, Z. And debunking these myths, telling people that what you're thinking is not serving you is a big thing. And I agree. So I want to talk about the first one you just said. A lot of people have came to me and said, if something happens to me again, and the doctors will look at me and they won't save my life. First of all, let me say one thing to you when it comes to that. You have a emergency room team that's trying to save your life, and then you have a transplant team. You have two different sets of groups of people that come in and work with patients, work with you if you're in that situation. They have nothing to do with each other. The doctors at the hospitals, their job is to save your life and make you the best you can be after an emergency accident of any kind. That's what their focus is. They don't think like we're gonna be you. They don't even know if you're an organ donor or not. So that myth is so far fetched. Another thing is if something happens and you decide to be an organ donor, and we're at that stage, a whole nother team of doctors come in, and that's where they look at you and see if you are available candidate to be an organ donor. A lot of times people aren't even available candidates, Phil, and we know these things already. And and that's why we're gonna debunk these myths. And I think honestly, we need to do a thorough job on this because a lot of people out here are so scared to be an organ donor. I've even heard people say, what happens in the afterlife? Do I need my eyes? Am I gonna need my kidneys in the afterlife? I've heard people say these things, and when you're gone, I believe you're gone. I don't believe you're gonna need your organs for any of those things. I just want to say that. So I just wanted to, come across with that and let people understand what's going on here. Again, there's two separate doctors when they work with you. You have a transplant team and you have a hospital team. They have nothing to do with one another. So that's a myth that we need to definitely debunk. Another one right here, myth that says my family will be charged if I donate my organs. That's clearly not the truth. Okay, if you donate your organ, your family won't be charged at all. The only person to be charged would probably be the other person's insurance who is getting the organ. That's the only thing they have. That's the only challenge right there. But you won't have to be. I'm going to read this too, so I can sound even clearer. The organ donor's family is never charged for donating. The family is charged for the final efforts to save your life, but the cost for organ removal go to the transplant recipient. Okay, again, that's just what I said. So I just wanted to clear that up. Go ahead, Phil.
Yeah, I just kind of want to touch on the previous one we just went over. That was some information that was really vital. Is separating those doctors. In saying, I didn't even think about it that in that perspective of, the doctors that take care of you in those situations. Two sets of doctors, like you said. You got those doctors that you see, emergency, or if you get admitted in the hospital, then you have, if you are an organ donor or whatever, or your family agrees to have you be an organ donor, now you have that other separate set of doctors that come in to verify, like you said, that your organs are viable and able to be used to give to someone else. So that was a great point that you made there. The next thing is a history of medical illness will prevent me from being an organ donor. That's not true. We have kidney failure and we're still organ donors. So
All
you
right.
know, just because one thing is affected doesn't mean that everything is affected. Now there are
Right.
certain illnesses that do affect your complete body that could put you in this position. That is true. But just because you have a bad heart or a bad kidney or bad lungs or bad liver or whichever type of organ that you may have, even with a skin, you may have a skin disease or something like that that you have to deal with, right? Does not put you out of being an organ donor. If your other organs that are able to be used to save someone's life aren't at a risk to someone else, then and they're healthy, they're viable to use. They can be used to save someone's life. So definitely, all of this is just making sure that the illness that you have is not a through the, and then you'll know pretty much from there. Also still consult with your doctors, ask questions if you're concerned about certain things, to find these things out. So um, let me see what this say. It says here real quick, very few medical conditions automatically disqualify you from donating organs. Doctors evaluate each potential donor on a case by case basis to ensure the safety of transplant. Despite former diseases, certain organs may be healthy and match for a transplant. For instance, those who have undergone cancer may still be able to donate their eyes. Advances in medical continue to allow more and more people to be donors.
Hmm. Right. That and you're exactly right, man. And again, we hear, I've heard people say, "Man, I had a bad leg injury, so I don't know if I could be a donor." And I've heard it all, and just with a serious face, I'm debunking them. I'm not trying to make them, feel little about the information they don't know. I just, with a serious face, I'm like, no, that's not true. Just tell them in a certain way. Again, that what you're believing is not serving you. So I agree with everything you're saying on that, Phil. We have another one right here. It says, I'm too old to be a donor, and that's clearly not true either. I'm gonna read what they say about the facts right here. There is no set age limit for organ or tissue donation. Like the illness myth, the decision to use your organs is based on strict medical criteria, and doctors evaluate each potential donor on a case by case basis. And so Phil and I were talking about, when they made the mistake and gave somebody else an organ, and I had mentioned at that time that
I'm doing my show. So.
that is it's definitely a case by case situation. That's why I had a challenge when I saw that other person have a we gave an organ to somebody else, because when you get an organ, it's such a customized situation. It's case by case. So an organ might fit in me and might be perfect for me, but it might not be perfect for nobody else but me. Again, so this is a case by case study, and we try to tell people that. So you can't just say I can't be an organ donor because of X Y Z. First of all, you got to get evaluated to be an organ donor, and you got to go in there and see if you could be a candidate. If it comes down to that. So if something happens and you're going to be an organ donor, again, a lot of organs, especially in America, go to the wayside because they they have such strict criteria. It's so super strict that a lot of people are organ donors, but they just don't get to be that donor. But we still need more, is what I'm saying. Also, go ahead, Phil.
Which one did you just do?
I had just done. I'm too old to be a donor.
Okay. So the next one says, if I'm an organ donor, I can't donate my body to science for research. Yeah, that I definitely don't. I'm going to read this because I don't know too much about the donating body to science department of what we're talking about. So I'm going to read this fact that's below it here, instead of trying to talk out the side of my neck and say something false. The simple answer is yes. You can donate your body to science after organ donation. Organ donation for uh, transplant takes first priority due to its life-saving nature. And if for some reason you are not a good candidate for organ donation, you will most likely be a great one for whole body donation for medical research. So they have basically, in a sense, tiers of how they go through this decision. So if you're an organ donor and you're able to save someone's life, you're viable, and they say, okay, yeah, this person has good organs or good heart, good kidney, good liver, things of that nature that can be donated to someone that's in need of it. They will remove those organs and transplant that person. And then if not, then that whole body will go to science for research and things of that nature. You'll be uh, correct me if I'm wrong, but that would be kind of a sense of being in the position of the guy that went through the kidney attached to his leg, right? Was that science research or was that transplant?
It was both. I would say it's both. It's we learned on both sides. We learned that he gave his body the science. The science he did was doing it's called a xenotransplant, and that's what the science was. So uh, I feel that was a win-win. That's just my thought process on that. But I want to go with the next one, and this is one that's big, and we see this one all the time that I have to debunk everywhere I go. Every speaking engagement, if it's about organ donation, I have to debunk this one. Organ donation is against my religion. I'm just going to read the facts. I'm not even going to say that. I'm just going to read the facts. All major religions not only support organ donation as an individual right, but encourages it as an act of generosity and compassion. This includes Roman Catholics, Islam, most branches of Judaism, and most
Protestant faiths.
Protestant faith. Yeah, I'm sorry, Protestant faith. So that's I've talked to rabbis and all kinds of stuff like that, and people of the cloth, and they've never had anything against organ donors. Matter of fact, they insist that you become an organ donor, just like this was said. Go ahead, Phil.
Yeah, I've had this same conversation before as well. Um, but what I did not know, what you just read, is that they encourage it.
They
I've kind
do.
of I think I've had these conversations on more of a personal belief. Some disagree with their religion on it, but they still go with it because it is, what was put in place before they got, in whichever position that they were in. So, which I respect. But it says the next one is an open casket funeral is an option for people who donated organs. It says organ and tissue donation doesn't interfere with having an open casket funeral. Though the entire donation process, the body is treated with care and respect. Because the donor is clothed and lying on his or her back in the casket, no one can see any difference. And that's true. I don't see how you would think that you couldn't have an open casket funeral by donating. Even if you donated your eyes, nine times out of people want their deceased loved one with their eyes closed, anyways. So you wouldn't be able to know, even if they donated. If it was something that has to do with their eyes or anything like that. So yeah, it's still okay for you to have an open casket funeral. Like I said, you got clothes on, and not gonna be able to see where the doctors cut. They're not using what's that thing called? It's used to like basically line up your grass and stuff like that, or a hacksaw or anything like that. They're not using stuff like that to cut you open where there's no way to put you back together for that type of ceremony or anything like that. So definitely that's something that we need to debunk for sure. Is and I think most people come up with some of these. And I know some people even probably sitting there going, that made absolutely no sense. But you gotta realize some people, they come up with things like this just to talk, just to be able to say something, and so it's definitely something that all of these need to be debunked because uh the number one reason we need more organ donors, that's just the realness to it. um so we're doing what we can in this position, um, to change the thought process on these things. Ms. Cooper, what do you think about that last one? It's still kind of weird to me, but
Um, uh, you have to understand, man. Again, we're taking this serious. You might see us giggle a little bit, but we're taking this serious. It's because we've been hearing these myths for I've been hearing these myths for over 20, 30 years, and they're clearly not true. I think they're just like reasons for people not to become organ donors. That's where I stem with that. Because people make up all kinds of excuses not to, and don't make up the excuse on why you should. So you have to change that thought process around, and think of why you should be an organ donor, opposed to why you shouldn't be an organ donor. So that's the thing. But the last one, you have to understand. Anytime you, even if you do get, they take your organs out, which I've been to several funerals where the person was an organ donor and they still looked the same. They had a suit on or they had a dress, and you couldn't tell if they were organ donors or not. Matter of fact, I knew the person was an organ donor, but several others didn't know, and they said, "Oh, so and so looked good in the casket," and you will never know the difference and stuff. These guys that the more mortuary guys, those guys, they know what they're doing. So you definitely can have an open casket. I just wanted to say that. And there's a couple more facts. I just want to read these facts real quick before we get off. We're over our time, but one organ donor can impact the lives of up to 8 transplant recipients. Organs that can be donated from one donor include the heart, liver, kidneys, pancreas, lungs, and intestines. Another one right here says one tissue donor can help hundreds of people. Cornea donors, that's for your eyes, give the gift of sight to 2 people. Skin donors, people who got, victims of burns or recovery from traumatic injuries, might be cancer, might be something like that that messed up the skin, But bones, people get bone transplants. People get heart valve transplants, from a heart valve, and tendon donors too. A lot of athletes who might have a torn ACL get a tendon, another tendon from a cadaver, and they're what they're called tissue. They're a tissue recipient. So I just wanted to tell people a lot of times you walking around, if you got a surgery and they had to put a different tendon in you, if you got a valve or something like that, you're what we call a tissue recipient. And a lot of times you don't even know it. I was talking to my one boy. He played ball. He played ball for the Buffalo Bills, and he got a tendon in him. And I told him, I said, "You don't even know, but you're a tendon recipient." He was like, "What?" I said, "Yeah, they took a tendon out of a cadaver and put it in you." So just wanted to tell. He was shocked. He was like, "Oh, okay, dang, I didn't even know that." You don't know what you don't know, and this goes for all these myths in here too. You don't know what you don't know. So before you start talking about, what you don't know, educate yourself. Listen to Second Chance. We'll educate you on all the information you need to know when it comes to kidney transplants or any type of transplant. All right. So don't forget to like and subscribe. Go ahead, Phil.
The one thing I want to add to that is what you brought up about morticians and stuff like that, people working in mortuaries and get people ready for funerals, is that uh, they are taught to do what they do. And yes, I
Yes.
said the word taught. They didn't just go in there and just watch somebody. It's not like
Hmm.
being a cop where you go out there and just tell somebody for 2 3 years to learn what they're doing. They actually have a funeral school,
Right.
multiple of them that they go. I had no clue about this. I'm not gonna say it like I just know stuff. I happen to be watching no, some of you guys probably heard of comedian Schuler King. He's
Hmm.
a verified. He's a funeral director, certified funeral director. His family has a funeral service of I think like 80 some years, and
The
he spoke
comedian, the
at
comedian, the
yeah.
comedian
He's
dude.
he's a full
I
time
didn't know
comedian,
that.
but he's a certified funeral director. His family's had a funeral home in Sumter, South Carolina for almost 80,
Okay.
90 some years. And so it's a family business, and he still works that business as well. And
Mm.
and how I knew this, I saw him. He spoke at a commencement ceremony for a funeral school, and again blew my
Mm.
mind. I'm like, they got schools for this too. I'm like, you can't get out of school if you wanted to. They got schools for funeral directors and things like this, and they just trying to keep us in school. But they know what they're doing. They are taught to handle these people with care. And yes, they are still people, regardless with no life or no life. They're still people. They are bodies. They are people. And so they are handled with care in most facilities. I have seen some things on some that and you're gonna touch that, but definitely they are taught to handle these bodies with care, especially in those situations of people who have had organs removed and things of that nature, and how they're uh I want to say put whole, because it may seem like they're just empty people, but uh, sewn back together, things like that, to form their normal body, to be put in their suit or their dress or things of that nature, to be presented at a open casket. So don't let that be something that gets in your way, of being able to save someone's life, is you thinking that you look a different way in a casket. Everybody looks different in a casket. Nobody looks what they normally look like in a casket, with or without their organs. So let's just put that out there. So we urge you to please look into these things that we just talked about today. Again, like Miss Cook said, educate yourself. Do your own research. I don't mean med.org or whatever the name of that thing. I'm talking about do some scholarly research on these things that's proof of this knowledge that we're speaking about. So, and again, if you got questions about stuff, definitely come back and hit us up. We'll definitely have no problem with speaking to you about these things, or doing another show on something specific. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell on Second Chance, as well as Kidney Care Coaches. And we appreciate your love and your support, and we'll be back tomorrow morning. Definitely don't forget, Friday is our 2022 Home and Center dialysis conference. The good, the bad, the ugly. We'll have a number of people on speaking. Myself, Mr. Cook, Jonathan Trailer of Hope of Jonathan will be doing presentations on the different types of dialysis. We have Dr. Sharika Brookins speaking on uh, mainly talking to dialysis patients about how you should live while on dialysis, to be able to be in position to get on a transplant list and make that transition from dialysis to transplant. We have our dietitian, renal dietitian, Lindsay, that'll speak on your nutrition and renal diet on dialysis. Then we also have our patient panel, who's who is going to be hosted by the Kidney Trust crew of Anthony Reed and Dawn Williams. And our panelists will be Artavius Veazey, Bella Langston, uh, Fred Hill, Alex Brios, who will be bringing their dialysis experience to the forefront, to be informative to all you patients who are dealing with dialysis, or could be dealing with dialysis, maybe in stage 1 through 5 at the moment, and could be getting to this at some point in the future. Hosted by Erica Nicolay and Keith Edwards. It's going to be a great time, very informative, very energetic. We definitely would love for you to show up and chill with us. We'll be on our YouTube channel, Global Jonathan, Kidney Care Coaches, and the Second Chance. So see you on Friday. We'll see you tomorrow morning for Let's Talk Again. And we appreciate your love and support, and we'll holler at you.